Welcome to the Choose on Purpose podcast, where leaders live with intention. I'm your host, Becky Ploutz, and today we are talking all things inspired action. So, moving from inspiration into action and really focusing on those small, consistent steps to bring your dreams to life, right? So, from ideas to impact. And this episode is to help you move from those insights to really taking the steps to execute and do that with alignment so that you have consistent momentum toward your heart's vision. Let's grow. So, we're going to talk about the spark of inspiration and how important it is to take action because when we get nudged or feel inspired and we sit on it, right? Maybe you can let me know. Have you ever had a moment of inspiration, right? It hit, so clearly it felt divine, but then you hesitated, right? Maybe you overthought it. Maybe you talked yourself out of it. Yeah. If that sounds familiar, this episode's probably for you. Because today we're tuning into that inspiration to move forward and help you take the next best step toward being fully seen and heard to celebrate the impact. And when I say next best or the right step, what I really mean is the most effective and aligned step for you, right? So, as I'm going through this is all in your own filter that you get to put this work to into motion. So, thinking about this for myself with inspired action, the one thing that I know I've shared more recently, because this is really where I'm at, is thinking about how much I sat on the ideas of wanting to do a retreat for myself. So, right, I've been a photographer, I've photographed other people's retreats for years now, 5 years now, actually. And everybody does it differently, and I always have ideas, and inspired action is not the two things that I've put together. Well, I have ideas on how I could help them improve theirs, you know, and everyone takes advice differently and sometimes not at all. And right, my retreat is different than any of my clients' retreats because it's mine. And I have ideas that I was sitting on for the longest time with my own retreat. And now that I've booked a location, I have it set. I'm building out everything right now to release it. And I have been wanting that for over 5 years. So I think that I had the spark of inspiration for my own probably 7 years ago. And then I started helping others capture and document their retreats because of my photography background, because I was like, well, I can go and help capture what I know is missing in the market, which is, in my opinion, the connection, right? Instead of just having pictures of bodies and people in a room that, hey, people showed up for my thing. I'm all about capturing the connection, the transformation that actually occurs in real time at these events. So I have this gift of being able to see it, and I love being able to experience it and capture like the essence of as it's happening for someone else. And if you've ever been to an event with me, you know that I'm like, oh, getting the behind the scenes pictures just naturally who I am. And I've done that for my business, right? Doing that for other people's retreats. So I say this as a vulnerable story that, for 7 years, that was a spark inside me that I was like snuffing out and kind of shrinking back, I would say, by saying, well, I can do this for other people. And, it was what it was for that time frame because I wasn't ready yet to do all of the work that it takes to put a retreat together. And that's why I am a great support person for other retreat facilitators to do that, because I've seen inside and I know my own thoughts about how retreats or events that involve overnights and that heart connection with participants, like how that can really flow with more ease and really be more, you know, soul focused versus just surface level. So, um, I've stepped into using that inspiration to take action. And if you're like, well, when is your retreat? It's April of 2026. And I've I'm launching that all out. So as you listen to this, there's a link below. Go check it out. Get on the list to either see the dates or see if there's a seat left or a bed left, because it's very intimate. It's only six women invited to come and do that. So I hope that's you. And so I say that because, right, for years I went different routes. I tried different things, and now I have stepped into taking those small steps with confidence to be taking the action and, not let my feelings of, well, I'm not sure how something's going to go, stop me. Right. I've chose to keep looking at, well, what's the next piece that I need to focus on in order to make this happen? Because it's in there, it's inside me. I know it's there, and I can step away from feeling like every has to be perfect or have to know every step before I would book the place, set the date, find the location, like all of those things. And sometimes we confuse stillness for safety when what our soul really needs is movement. And I believe everything does happen in divine timing. So obviously, for these past 7, 5 years, whatever it was, I was meant to be growing in different directions so that I could be better prepared for taking the leap right now in my life to be in the right kind of movement for my inspiration. So, I was being more still about my own, and now that nudge feels really aligned and like I couldn't sit any longer. It was so uh clear to me that this was the next move. So, what inspired idea or nudge keeps circling back to you, my friend? Because that's what this content is all about. Me sharing this with you is to help you draw out that thing that's ready to be seen in you. Okay, so would love to invite you to share that with me, share it on social media, get it out there, and get some support with that nudge that's really drawing you out right now and speaking to you. So, why sometimes, right, it's fear, perfectionism, waiting on the quote unquote right time to do things, but you know, why do we stop things sometimes when they're in that idea stage, right? I am someone that journals, and if I and this is one of the things that would frustrate me to the point where I was getting closer and closer to taking this action, was that I would see how I would repeat myself in my journals, in my planners, that the same things, maybe different um, words or different order or some nuances, of course, because I'm growing and I'm continuing to do the work of self-development and self-growth. And it's progressing and evolving. And, but, so many times I would find the same kind of ideas in my journal and planner and think, oh my gosh, I can't let this idea die. Like I'm just not letting it go. It keeps circling back. I keep repeating this idea for a reason. It's planted in me, it's taken root, it's not going anywhere. It just keeps coming. So, you know, what is the idea that you've been sitting on? I want to ask you that. And what's holding you back? from doing it. Because for me, it was just the uncertainty of how am I going to do this? Where's it going to be? Who's it going to be for? Like all of the questions that I let stop me because I was unsure. And now, and that's fear. I've been talking about for myself, I've been reminding myself, and I wrote it down in my planner. It's actually right in front of me. Fear is what if. So asking all of the questions. Well, what if this and what if this? And faith is even if. So I've been really shifting this and it's made a huge difference. So that might be for you as well, my friend. So even if I'm not 100% sure where it's going to be, which I am now. But this was one of the things that, right, I was able to start shifting so that I could just start making a choice to research, making a choice to get more information. And so that I could get closer to deciding the details that I was allowing to stop me from even stepping forward. Okay. So thinking about that, even if I don't fill the seats, right? I know that I am, but these are the questions that I was asking and moving through as I was getting closer and closer to taking my inspired action, one baby step at a time. All right. So, another example is even if I didn't fill all 6 seats, could I make it? Like, what would success look like for me? Right. And all of these things. So asking and figuring out where I was holding myself back so that I could use my faith to say, "Ooh, but even if that happened, then what? Then what?" You know? So getting to that point, figure out what's holding you back because then you can start educating yourself and getting some, support and empower yourself to understand that that pressure that we put on ourselves is fear and it's unhelpful, right? And it leaves us being feeling uninspired to move. And soul alignment, getting that soul alignment, that's where clarity is. And being able to take a step for finding those resources or understanding why we want things more, that's the clarity. So, thinking about that for yourself, how does that move to help you keep growing in the direction of your heart's vision? Okay, and there is another example I'll bring up that's one of my clients. One of my clients in the beginning of working together, she was like, I don't want my picture taken. I don't see myself doing the podcast, all of those things. And now, after 6 months of taking baby steps and realigning with what she truly desires and wants, which is impact, she wants to know that her work matters. She wants to understand the impact that she's making with the education that she can share and the wisdom that she holds and getting that to others. That's what we all want, right? And when she started taking these baby steps, it felt more easy, right? To step out of the comfort zone because we realize how much we're allowing fear to run our lives. We're allowing the imperfection, we're allowing the imposter syndrome to like tell us these big, scary, pressurous things that they're just not true, or they're not as big and scary as they think they are, right? Because when we break it down to those baby steps and start moving, we can start to see more clearly with our vision right in front of us, right? And it gets closer, and those steps become really sacred pieces of the journey. So, right, maybe it's even just instead of using your voice that boldly on a podcast or, being able to share your journey more, maybe it's even, sending a specific email or, showing up on video before you feel ready. That was a huge part of my own journey too. when hired my very first coach, it was like she got me out of my comfort zone by challenging me to do like a 2-minute video on Facebook. And it was scary the first time I did it because I was like overthinking, overthinking, overthinking so much. And repetition and practice, right, has helped me be able to do this, to podcast, to interview people, to speak life with more confidence, even though inside, like, I am still nervous. I am still like, oh my gosh, is anyone even listening to this podcast? Hello. And I'll take this moment to say, thank you for listening to the podcast. I would love to actually ask you to share it with a friend. I would love to ask you to write a testimonial about how this impacts you. And thank you. I would love to be able to highlight you as you give that review of how this has impacted you. I want to give you a shout out when I see those reviews. So make sure you put your name on there. I can highlight you. Otherwise, I'll just say you're anonymous, but you'll know. So, thank you for tuning in um, and sharing this. Thank you, thank you. So, back to inspired action. So, inspired action is about obedience to your purpose, which doesn't sound super sexy, but it is. It's saying yes before everything feels perfect because that's where the excitement lies, right? The newness, that excitement, anticipation, like fill it with the ideas of goodness that comes from that, the possibilities, the positive possibilities, right? Remember, inspired action is obedience to your purpose. So powerful to think of those words and that the feeling and the gratification of that and the gratitude for moving on something that's so in, engraved in your heart and that feeling. Mm, it feels so good to do that. And I speak that from experience right now, right? Building that trust with ourselves to know that we're growing into our future too. The future is actually today, right now, in the present, because the movement that we're making is giving us one step closer to that future self that we're carving out, shaping up as who we are. And deciding that future self so that we can better acknowledge her